Hello, everyone. I am Sean, and welcome once again to my Horror Corner. As always, thank you so much for watching the video today, and a special thank you to those of you who have been subscribing. A little up over 80 now, maybe around 85 or so. Yeah, getting closer to that 100 goal that I had set this year. So, thank you all so much for being a part of that, for sharing the videos on social media and here as well, and just the encouragement, the support really does mean so much to me. So just want to thank you all. You guys are the absolute best. Today we are going to be talking about a fun one. I've seen this movie, I think, 3 times now. I think this was the third time I watched it just before recording this episode, getting ready for that. And that is Ty West's film X. That's what we're going to be talking about this morning. So, if you've seen this film, surely you have. I think the film came out. Gosh, let me look at my notes here real quick. I want to say, yeah, 2022. So only a couple years ago, but I feel like everybody's still seen this one. I've heard this film talked about quite a bit. Um, yeah, so if you haven't seen it, I believe right now it's on HBO Max is where you can watch it. I have it on Blu-ray. If I could find it on 4K, I would certainly upgrade this one. So that already gives you a little bit of an idea on my opinion of this film. But yeah, let me get a drink of coffee, and then this is the one we're going to talk about today. All right, so quick kind of overview, synopsis, that kind of thing for X, real quick. Uh, Tagline: Dying to show you a good time. In 1979, a group of young filmmakers set out to make an adult film in rural Texas. But when their reclusive elderly hosts catch them in the act, the cast find themselves fighting for their lives. Film was released March 18th of 2022, directed and written by Ty West, produced by Ty West, Jacob Jafke, Kevin Turin, and Harrison Kreis. Cinematography done by Elliot Rocket, music by Tyler Bates and Chelsea Wolfe, distributed by A24, a runtime of 106 minutes, budget of 5.3 million, box office of 15.1 million, so almost 3 times its budget. Scores: Rotten Tomatoes scores 94% from critics, 76% from the audience, and 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb. Um, I will say this first of all, I'm glad the critics like this one because a lot of times I don't feel like critics like slasher films. So I do like, I am happy about the fact that the critics like this one. Um, Audience score of 76% on Rotten Tomatoes, I think is fair. Uh, Kind of surprised the IMDb score is a little bit low, but yeah, we'll get into some things about that. But first, let's talk about the cast. We have Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, Martin Henderson, Brittany Snow, Owen Campbell, and Scott Mescudi. That's the only names I'm going to, and I hope I said Scott's last name right. I probably didn't. We've talked about this before. I fuck up names all the time, so that's just the way it is. But um, pretty stacked cast. I'm a huge fan of Jenna Ortega and Brittany Snow. I really like both of them in so many things that I've seen them in. Um, so yeah, big fans of them. Now, let me say this because I've talked about this with some other people before. I'm not, at risk of losing some of you right now. I'm not a Mia Goth fan. I just there's something about her that bothers me. I know so many people absolutely love her, which is fine. I just don't get it. I'm not a big fan of hers. Um, I can't 100% pinpoint why, but yeah, I'm just not a big fan. And the thing is it's a lot of, I think, the love from critics and even the audience in this film comes from Mia Goth and her performance as she's playing um, basically two parts in this film. She's playing both um, Maxine and Pearl. And that being said, of course, this is the first film in that little trilogy that we have there. Um, a few behind the scenes things, some notes, fun facts, stuff that I'll mention for you. Uh, as I said, Mia Goth underwent extensive prosthetic makeup to play the part of Pearl. She would sometimes spend 10 hours a day in the makeup chair. The film actually had its world premiere March 13th of 2022 at the South by Southwest Film Festival and then was released 5 days later. Um, First installment in this X film series, which Pearl, which was released the same year, 2022, as a prequel, and then Maxine in 2024. That's really all I've got. Nothing major as far as the behind the scenes things. Ty West was very inspired by Texas Chainsaw Massacre and kind of wanted to pay a tribute to those classic slashers of the late 70s and the 80s. But yeah, that being said, uh, excuse me, I had a long night. I'm telling you, insomnia is kicking my ass, so I did not sleep well. So I'm going to get another drink of coffee, and then we'll start going through the plot. All right. So the opening of this film, it's 1979, and we see a lot of police officers at a farmhouse. They're discovering bodies from what looks like this massacre. And while this is going on, and it's going to kind of play a part in it, if this is the first time you've seen this movie, or if you've only seen this movie and you haven't seen Pearl, you haven't seen Maxine, um, it's not going to mean anything to you because you don't know what's to come. But I'm going to spoil things a little bit for you. There is a preacher that's on the television in this house while the police are investigating, that we're going to see periodically on TV throughout this film. And there is a reason why that we'll get to about the end of this movie, and then talk about that, the role that plays going forward. This opening, I do see that Texas Chainsaw Massacre inspiration. I feel like it has that same kind of feel to it. Very hot, very gritty. Summertime. Uh, Dirty, that type of thing. I mean, it does. I do see that Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe. I'm not saying this film is as good as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I see the vibe. I see the influence there from Ty West. So don't anybody panic. I'm not saying this film is as good as Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm just saying I see the similarity and I see that influence. And the opening is fine. There's nothing extraordinary here that happens. There's nothing that really jumps out and is absolutely amazing, but the opening is fine. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. Decent opening, kind of setting the stage, letting us know what's to come. And then right after that, we see that it's 24 hours before this happens, and we kind of get the introduction then to our main group here. We meet Maxine. We see that she's sitting in front of this mirror. She's snorting cocaine and talking to herself. Her boyfriend Wayne comes in. They talk for a few minutes, and then we see Maxine, Wayne, Bobby Lynn, and Jackson all exiting a strip club. And we kind of go into from there that group along with RJ and Lorraine in a van, and we find out they're looking through kind of a script and talking about ideas. They're talking about the American dream and different things that they want out of life. But we find out that they are actually going to shoot a pornographic film, and that Wayne is going to basically direct this and produce this, and he's super excited about this and thinks this is beginning of the boom in the porn industry, and he really thinks this is going to be huge. Along the way, as I mentioned, um, they stop at a gas station, and while they're in that gas station, you also see that preacher again on a television there in the gas station. They arrive at their location. But let me stop there for a minute. Let's talk about the cast and these characters and this introduction to them as well. Again, as I said, I'm a big fan of Jenna Ortega and Brittany Snow. Um, Not necessarily a fan of Mia Goth. All of that being said, I think everybody does a really good job in this film. I think the performances are very solid. Um, the characters, knowing what they're doing. Are they likable? Are they not likable? I think the film does a good job here in this very brief setup, just in some of the conversations we see them have and the joking around we see them have. Um, I think it does a good job of at least having us interested in them. Are they great people? That's debatable, but I think we get just enough of an interaction from them and an introduction to them that you're interested. I don't know if I could say that you like them, but you are interested, and you kind of get the impression as well that Lorraine, played by Jenna Ortega, is the sweeter, innocent one of the group. In fact, they call her Church Mouse because she's very quiet and just doesn't really talk much. And she's basically just going to be the plan is for her to basically be holding a microphone and doing the sound for this. So they arrive at this guest house that they've rented. Um, Wayne has a little bit of a interaction with Howard, who's the old man that lives in this home and is renting out the guest house to them not far away. Um, Kind of a Howard almost seems like he's forgotten, and then he realizes, yeah, okay, I'm renting this house to you guys, and so that everything works out. And we also see here that Howard's wife Pearl is up in a window staring down, watching, and she seems very fascinated with Maxine. And again, both of these characters, Pearl and Maxine, are played by Mia Goth. Um, again, as we're setting everything up here, I think everything is fine. I think the story is told pretty well in this movie, and we're going to get into something here shortly. Um, that I see could be an issue for some people, but doesn't really bother me. And I think the reason it doesn't is because um, I feel like the story is told in a way, and the performances are good enough that the pacing is fine. I could see where some people might think the beginning of this movie is a little slow. Um, because I'll go ahead and say this now. We haven't got to it yet. We don't get the movie again is like an hour and 47 minutes long, and we don't get our first kill in this film until an hour in. I knew it was a while, but this morning when I was watching this movie, getting ready to record this, I paused it as that first kill started because I wanted to see where it was time wise, and it's an hour in. So over halfway into this film before we get our first kill. I can see how that would bother some people. I can see how some people might think that it was dragging or a little slow or just some issues with the movie. Personally, it doesn't bother me um, because again, I feel like, as I was saying, I feel like the story's told pretty well. I think it's paced fairly well, and I think we get just enough interaction and introduction to these characters, and that it. I don't know. Some movies it might would bother me, but I think this one it's fine. And again, I really don't know how else to explain it other than stories being told well, and the actors are all doing a fine job, and we're slightly interested in the characters. So I think, and I say slightly interested. I know that sounds bad, but I can again see how some people would think nobody in this movie is likable. Except for maybe Jenna Ortega's character, and even that could become questionable for people later on. But I don't know. I just they're intriguing. They're interesting. Whether you like them or not is debatable, but they are interesting. And so I think it's just all put together well that first hour of the film flows pretty well, and then picks up and gets better as we start getting into the kills. That being said. We do see from there, they start shooting their movie. They're doing some things. Maxine, when she's not shooting, she goes down to like a pond, a lake that she finds there, and she undresses and is kind of swimming naked around in this pond. And we see um, Pearl standing behind some trees watching her. So you can tell that Pearl is very fascinated with Maxine. Um, you can also tell that we'll come back to that in a moment. We also see it's a really cool shot, in my opinion, here. And maybe it's this kind of thing that helps set the pacing for this film because it keeps just kind of teasing you with some things that could be to come. But as Maxine is basically floating in this, again, I don't know if it's a pond or a lake or what it is, but as she's basically floating in it, we also see an alligator. And then we see this alligator slowly moving towards her. She finally decides to stop floating and swim back to the dock. And we kind of see the alligator slowly following her. And then even when she gets to the dock, she hesitates before she climbs up on it, and the alligator starts to get very close. And you wonder if you haven't seen the film before, you wonder if she's about to get attacked because it sets it up pretty nicely. But then she gets out of the water just in time and has no idea that the alligator was even there. Um, as she gets dressed and goes back up to the house, Pearl ends up. She goes into the house and is looking around, and she then meets Pearl, and Pearl starts talking with her. And again, there we really see more of this fascination that Pearl has with Maxine, and Pearl commenting about how Maxine reminds her of herself, and they have a similar appearance, which, obviously they're both played by Mia Goth, so that's fine. I think the makeup looks really good for both Howard and Pearl here, so I think the special effects are done very well. Um, I think the kills look good. We'll get into each one of them here in a few minutes, but yeah, I think the makeup for them looks good. The prosthetics and stuff look great. Um, I think the film is looking good. I think everything's done pretty well. And so, again, while I see how some people could find this movie a little bit slow, um, I think it's okay for this one. I might would not. I mean, I might think it was slow too if the performances weren't very good, if we weren't getting just a few interesting things here and there. But I think this one's done just well enough that it's working out okay. And so I remember the first time I watched this movie, I really liked it. I absolutely loved this film. The second time I watched it, I still enjoyed it. I wasn't sure if it was as if I enjoyed it as much as I did the first time. And so then I watched it again today, and we'll get into a little more of my opinion as we go on. But I think it's obvious from what I've said so far that I like the movie. Um, we then continue to move on, and now Maxine is shooting her scene with Jackson, her porn scene, and we again see Pearl watching. She's watching through a window. Maxine and Jackson shoot their scene, and we even see her fantasizing that she is in Maxine's place, and it's her that is with Jackson. This seems to get Pearl, despite the fact that she's quite a bit older, pretty worked up. She goes back to her home, and she wants her husband Howard to, have sex with her, but Howard, says basically, that that I can't, my heart can't take it, and so we kind of see, uh, Pearl hurt a little bit there. Um, and then again, as we move on a little bit, still not a whole lot happening, but later that evening, as they're all the group is all sitting around in this guest house and talking, um, Lorraine finally begins to speak up, and again, she's been pretty quiet throughout this film, and you kind of get the well. In fact, she even tells RJ at one point that this is not what she signed up for. That she's very uncomfortable with all of this, but she begins to speak up now, and you do see a shot of her when Maxine and Jackson are shooting their scene. You see a shot of Lorraine where she's starting to smile a little bit. So you kind of get the impression that maybe she's starting to get into this. And again, then that night when they're all sitting around talking, she asks a few questions, and then she expresses that she wants to be involved. She wants to do more than just the sound system. She wants to be in a scene. Now, we've also kind of established here at this point that RJ, who is running the camera, and Lorraine are a couple. We've also established that Maxine and Wayne are a couple, and that Bobby Lynn and Jackson are a couple. Um, RJ, who has been very excited about making this film, uh, does not like the idea of Lorraine being in it and tries to talk her out of it. In fact, he even gets kind of frustrated and goes outside, and Wayne comes outside and talks to him and, tries to basically let him know that everything's going to be okay and, kind of talk him into it. They get back inside, and then they do shoot a scene with Lorraine and Jackson. Afterwards, as everyone else is in bed and sleeping, we see RJ is very discouraged now. He's very upset. He's in the shower, he's crying, and then finally he just decides he's going to leave. He can't take this now that he's had to watch his girlfriend Lorraine be in this scene with Jackson. And so he gets in the van to leave. And as he takes off, Pearl is kind of standing there in the driveway area. In fact, he almost hits her, and then he stops. And now is when we're going to get our first kill of the movie. As RJ gets out, he goes up. He's trying to talk to Pearl, to see if she's needing help, like what's going on. Um, she tries to hug him. Actually, she does hug him, and then I think she tries to kiss him. He kind of pushes her away, and it's like, "Why are you doing this? What's wrong with you?" And that seems to set her off, and she has a knife in her hand. She ends up stabbing him in the neck. Um, he falls to the ground, and then we get a scene where she's stabbing him repeatedly. God, I can't even talk this morning. While Don't Fear the Reaper is playing on the radio in the van. It's a very cool scene. I think the kill scene here looks really good. Again, I think the special effects are good, where she's repeatedly stabbing him now, and you see the blood squirting and things like that. I think the song "Don't Fear the Reaper" playing while this is happening is good. I really like this scene. I think this kill looks really good. I like the way they do it. Immediately following her killing him, though, it's almost like you're watching from the van, and the music changes, and now there's some kind of like weird music playing, and we just see Pearl kind of spinning around slowly and dancing a little bit, and I don't know, that scene is awkward. I don't know why. To me, it kind of threw off the vibe a little bit of what we had just seen. It got kind of weird for me, but I mean, it was very minor. It's very short. It doesn't happen very long. And then she takes the keys out of the van. A little bit later on, then Lorraine wakes up to realize that RJ is gone, and as she goes outside to look for him, she ends up waking up Wayne, and Wayne initially is like he's just clearing his mind. He'll be back. Everything's fine. But Lorraine is able to talk Wayne into looking for RJ with her. And so Wayne goes into a bar and he's looking around. And while he's in this bar, I say a bar, sorry, a barn. While he's in this barn, I'm telling you, I got no sleep last night. While he was in this barn, he ends up stepping on a nail. He's hurt. He's on the ground there. He gets the board with the nail in it out of his foot. He's crawling around. He hears a sound over by a wall, and so he crawls over to this wall and is kind of looking at these holes in the wood, and he's calling for RJ to see if it was him or even Lorraine maybe, and then he ends up getting stabbed through these holes in this wall with a pitchfork, and we discover that it's Pearl who has stabbed him. She was outside. Almost looks like it was a setup, really, with this nail being placed the way it was. But yeah, Pearl then stabs and kills Wayne. She comes around and into the barn and from the other side. So we see that now Pearl has killed two people. She's killed RJ, and she's now also killed Wayne. The same time this is going on, trying to make sure I don't miss anything. Lorraine is outside looking still for RJ, and she comes across Howard, who asks Lorraine if she has seen his wife. And so it's almost like Howard makes a deal with her, like, let's look for them together. Maybe we can find your boyfriend and we can find my wife. But he does ask her, he only has one light. And so he asks her to go into the basement of the house and get the other light and then come back out. She kind of hesitates a little bit, but then she does go in and get this. She comes back out. And or as she's trying to come back out, she realizes that he's locked her in this basement and she can't get out. She turns around and she sees another body hanging on the wall, stripped naked and hanging on the wall, and obviously a dead person there, which really freaks her out. She starts screaming and trying to find a way out. Next, we kind of cut to Jackson, who believes he has heard something. Now he gets out of bed and he's looking around. He sees Howard with a flashlight outside, so he goes outside to talk to Howard. And Howard ends up persuading Jackson to help him look for his wife. They go down by this pond. They kind of get separated. Jackson doesn't find anything. He comes back up. He sees Howard, kind of tells him that he can't find his wife anywhere. And then Howard kind of angrily begins to go off on Jackson about people teasing his wife, running around with no clothes on, just the kind of people they are. And then he ends up lifting up a shotgun and shooting Jackson, killing him. And so now basically we've had all three of these guys die. RJ's dead, Wayne is dead, and Jackson is dead. And again, I think I liked the RJ kill. I liked the Wayne kill. I thought that looked pretty good with the pitchfork into the face. The Jackson kill, you don't really see much. I mean, you see that he gets shot in the chest and his body flies back, but that's about it. It's fine as well. But the other two are, you don't really see anything. So the Jackson kill is just kind of there. But again, I do like the RJ and the Wayne death scenes. And by now, I think with this point, as you've gotten 3 kills in a pretty quick period of time, you're over halfway through the movie. I think it's really kind of pulled you in now, and you're enjoying this and seeing this basically this killer team of this elderly couple of Howard and Pearl. And again, I like the pacing. I like the performances. Like 2 of the 3 kills. Yeah, I'm enjoying this film at this point, and still having remembering why I liked it so much in the beginning. All of this going on ends up waking up Bobby Lynn, which this is Brittany Snow's character, and she also now is going outside looking around, and she ends up down by this pond as well, and then is confronted by Pearl, and they have a little bit of an altercation, and then Pearl shoves Bobby Lynn into the pond, and immediately the alligator that we saw earlier that almost got Maxine launches on to I'm telling you, I'm struggling this morning. Latches on to Bobby Lynn and ends up killing her. Again, not a bad scene. We don't get a lot from this. I mean, we see kind of the thrashing around on the water. We hear Bobby Lynn screaming. We do see some blood. It might could have been a little more. It might could have been better, but it still wasn't a bad kill. I mean, it was fine. So now we've wiped out another member. We also get a scene there, which I think I got ahead of myself. It's between Jackson being shot and Bobby Lynn going outside. There's a scene where Maxine is laying in her bed and Pearl comes in. It's a very creepy scene. Pearl comes in. She undresses. She's got blood all over her hands from where she has killed Wayne. And she ends up laying in bed with Maxine. Maxine's asleep. and she's just kind of lightly caressing and touching Maxine and like leaving blood on her body, and um, then Pearl ends up turning around and waking up and seeing that it's Maxine in bed with her, and so she starts freaking out and screaming, and that's actually what wakes up Bobby Lynn. But again, just a very creepy scene there. But that's, like I said, what wakes up Bobby Lynn and causes her to go outside. Um, Maxine is now trying to figure out what's going on. She's been freaked out by Pearl being in bed with her. She doesn't know where anybody else is gone, so she's now up and looking around, and she gets to the van. She sees RJ's body, but she can hear Lorraine screaming inside. And so she goes inside the house and she ends up getting Lorraine out of the basement. And then as Lorraine takes off running and runs out the front door, Howard ends up shooting Lorraine in the head, uh, killing her. Um, it takes a minute, but kills her. And I'll come back to that as when I say it takes a minute. But again, good scene. Everything looks good. I think the pacing has really picked up here. We're getting a lot of good action, but we're getting some good kills. We're still getting solid performances. Yeah, I still think this movie is fun at this point. Although I will say, being fans of Jenna Ortega and fans of Brittany Snow, and I know Mia Goth was the star of this film, but I was really hoping maybe Jenna or Brittany could be the final girl in this. So yeah, I hated the fact that both of them have been killed now in this movie, but yeah, so that's where we are there. Um, Maxine's kind of hiding in the house. Howard and Pearl come up and they're trying to drag Lorraine's body. And when they do so, you kind of see that she's not quite dead yet. She coughs up some blood. This scares Howard, and he ends up having a heart attack and falling back against the wall. And now he is dying. And then Maxine steps out with a gun and is pointing the gun at Pearl and wanting to know where the keys to the van are. Pearl's freaking out because Howard's having this heart attack. And again, we see this preacher on the television in this home while all this is going on. And Maxine, who has tried to encourage herself throughout this film and tell herself that she's a sex symbol and she's a star, she gives a line that becomes bigger in the other movies in the franchise, that she will not accept a life that she doesn't deserve. She makes that statement when she's pointing this gun at Pearl. And as she's saying this, I will not accept a life I don't deserve, you also hear the preacher on the television saying the exact same thing. Um, she then goes to actually fire and or shoot the gun to kill Pearl, and there's no bullets. Pearl then reaches over for a shotgun, Howard's shotgun that's laying there on the floor. She picks it up to try and shoot Maxine, and as she fires the shotgun, Maxine dives out of the way, but the kick from the shotgun throws Pearl out the front door and down the steps. This scene's kind of funny, but it looks pretty good as well. And then as as Maxine goes outside, Pearl is laying there on the ground and she's hurt and she's talking about she's injured her hip. She can't get up. Um, they kind of have words, and then Maxine goes to get in the van to drive away. And while she's doing so, Pearl is, screaming at her, calling her a slut, and just, going off on her. Maxine ends up then backing the van up over Pearl's head, crushing it and killing her. And then Maxine drives away. We still hear this preacher talking, but it then cuts, we cut to the police showing up, and we cut back to where we were at the beginning of this film now, where the police are showing up and they're looking around and they're finding this massacre. They're finding all these bodies. They find RJ's camera. They ask the sheriff, what he thinks happened here. And he basically just says, it looks like, I can't remember the exact line, something to the effect of, it looks like someone made a really, messed up horror movie. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's X. My thoughts on this now. As I've commented going through this film, I like the performances. I like the story. I think the pacing is good. We get some good kills. Again, I like the RJ kill. I like the Wayne kill. Gosh, I totally forgot the character's name. Brittany Snow's character, Bobby Lynn. Her kill's okay. Where Lorraine gets shot in the face, and then we get to see a closer up version of that later. That looks good. Special effects look really good for this movie. I feel like Howard's heart attack, okay, that's fine. We've kind of gotten hints at that throughout the film. I mean, so yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. I failed to mention we get a scene finally where Howard does agree to have sex with Pearl, and that's while they're having sex, which is kind of disgusting to see. That's how Maxine sneaks away and gets away from them. But initially, um, Maxine running over Pearl's head, that looked pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any again, I can see where people might have some issues with the pacing of the film. When you're watching a slasher movie and you get all, over halfway through the film, you get an hour into the film and you haven't got a kill. I can see where that would bother some people. And I think, again, in any other movie, it might have bothered me too, but I just feel like we've gotten just enough to keep us interested, and the performances are strong enough and the story's good enough to keep us interested. So that doesn't really bother me as much as it could at other times. Um, at the same time, while this movie is supposed to be kind of a throwback to those slashers and a tribute to those slashers, it's a little awkward, in my opinion, to have some of the kills being done with like an alligator and a shotgun. That's not very slasher like, I don't think, for the most part. I mean, okay, Art the Clown uses a gun, I guess, sometimes, but when I think of a throwback to those slashers, I'm thinking about Jason and his machete, and Leatherface and his, chainsaw, and Chucky and Freddy and um, Michael Myers. You don't see them using guns. And again, I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying it's a little off to me to have that. This movie's supposed to be a throwback to those, and then we get those kind of kills mixed in. But at the same time, it's not a huge deterrent for this film because it makes sense with the plot. So even the things that I might could nitpick at a little bit, they still work because of the story, I feel like. So there's not anything about this movie I really feel like it's bad. Um, yeah, I enjoyed this film. Do I enjoy it as much as some of those older slashers, like the Michael, like the Freddy, like the Jason, Leatherface, Chucky, that kind of thing? No, I don't think it's as good as those films, but I do think it's very good. I think it's a good tribute film. I think it's one of the better movies, if not best movie of 2022. So I do really like this movie. Um, at some point, I will come back and cover Pearl and Maxine. Um, I think this movie is the best in this trilogy, just to be honest with you, because the others, I don't want to get too far ahead or anything, but one of the next films in this trilogy I don't like. I'll just go ahead and be honest with you right now. I'm going to rewatch it and review it at some point, and maybe it will have gotten a little better, but right now I don't like the film. And then another one is okay. So this is by far the best film in this trilogy, in my opinion. But like I said, we'll get into those other ones somewhere down the road. So yeah, for my rating of 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 1 out of 10. I'm telling you, you guys have got to forgive me today. The lack of sleep is showing. So my rating of 1 out of 10, I'm giving X a 8 out of 10. I think that's why I said that a while ago. But yeah, very good slasher film, very good movie. Maybe I should even call it a slasher film, but a very good movie. Pearl and Howard in this one is killers. Not bad. Pearl probably a little better than Howard. But yeah, this is a fun one in my opinion. If you like those 80s slashers, you should definitely check this one out if you haven't seen it already. If you have seen it, I want to know your opinion. So leave me some comments. Let me know what you think of this movie X. Let me know what you think of Mia Goth. Just yeah, share with me. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. I do really like the interaction. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. Help me reach my goal of 100 by the end of this year. Um, Again, for those of you that have already subscribed, thank you so much. I try to get videos out every Monday and Thursday. I'm also going to have some episodes coming up in the future on Saturdays. Saturday episodes will either be if I've just got to go check out a new movie at the theater, then I'm going to come back and talk about it the next Saturday, try to get in and record a good episode to get up for you guys on the newer films. Or periodically on Saturdays, I'm also going to be going back and going through the Walking Dead television show. Absolutely love this TV show. I know so many people got tired of it after a while. I personally didn't. I have seen all 11 seasons of The Walking Dead at least 5 times, probably closer to 10. Um, I love this show, and so season by season, I'm going to start covering this. I won't do it for each episode. I'll just do a season at a time. But so yeah, in the very near future, I'll have my first recording of that of season 1 of The Walking Dead. So those will also be kind of spread out here and there on Saturdays. Won't be an every Saturday thing, but periodically. So yeah, that's some things that are to come. Again, please subscribe. Next week, episodes on the channel. I'll take a look real quick and tell you I have a review coming out on Renfield. Um, yeah, we'll talk about that one. That's an interesting one. And then I've got a first time watch and a review coming up on the '70s horror film Alice Sweet Alice. Heard about this movie, never seen this movie before. I recently got it on 4K, and so I'm going to watch it and get a review of it. So that's what's coming next week. Renfield on Monday, Alice Sweet Alice on Thursday, and I am planning on Saturday Walking Dead, The Walking Dead season 1. So that's what's coming next week. I've got a lot of stuff, fun stuff planned for the future. I've got some guests that you've seen on my show before are going to be coming back. Yeah, Our Life in Horror. They're going to be back with me in the near future to talk about Victor Crowley as we wrap up that, the Hatchet franchise that we've been going through. My friends Robbie and Kaylee over at That Horror Couple, they're going to be back with me in the near future to talk about A Quiet Place Part 2. We talked about Part 1 a while back. My friend Isaiah from The Bitter Wolf is going to be on. We're going to be talking about Black Christmas. This is some awesome stuff that's coming up in September. So some good things coming next month as well. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Follow me on social media. I'm on pretty much everything out there: Blue Sky, Instagram, X, TikTok, even my personal Facebook page has pretty much just become the exact same things that I put on all this other social media. Links to the videos as they come out, some horror history things that I try to post each morning, movie anniversaries and that kind of thing. So yeah, follow me on social media. I do try to follow back as much as possible, as long as you look like a real person and not a bot, and as long as it looks like you do talk about horror movies and we have those things in common, then I try to follow back. So follow me on social media, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in a few days to talk about Renfield. Thank you so much for watching.